Hey everyone, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad. Temperatures update on our storm heading our way tonight. We obviously have the rain over us right now, but it's the snow concerns in the mountains in particular that has my attention. Here's our system. It's a pretty complicated system. Got a lot of moving parts here, and this is why it's so difficult to forecast this. This is the rain part of the storm right now. We're wedged in with some cold air, so it's a miserable cold rain, but yes, it is all snow right now across the Carolinas. The system that's going to bring us the snow is actually the upper level energy and piece of energy that's going to rotate in on the backside as the surface low moves to the coast. This is going to be the big player as it brings not only some moisture with it, but cold air aloft and at the surface. And the cold air aloft is a key part of this. The atmosphere is actually going to cool from the top down in this situation where we get some colder air coming in, and eventually the surface layer will cool down as well. But the location of this upper level system, which you see over St. Louis right now, is really the key part in this whole thing. And this is the water vapor loop. It's very fascinating to watch this thing develop. That's the piece of energy that I'm talking about right there. And you can see it kind of rotating right over central Missouri. The position of that and where that sets up is really the key part of the snow or winter part of this forecast that I'm talking about right now. So here's the latest winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. You can see Avery, Ashe, Watauga, Mitchell, and Yancey counties are under the winter storm warning. But we've got winter weather advisories for Wilkes County, Allegheny County, areas to the east. And this is where things get a little more dicey for tomorrow. And I say dicey, not that it's going to be horrible, but the questions about what's going to fall in these areas just north of Charlotte and possibly all the way down to Charlotte. There's a possibility we could see something happen down there. So let's talk about the futurecast. Obviously, I'll start this today. You can see on again, off again rain. There's going to be drizzle and mist. It's going to be an ugly day, but this is all rain. Even in the mountains, this is rain till about 9, 10 o'clock tonight. As temperatures begin to fall, notice we start to see some pinks at the highest elevations, above 5,000 feet, maybe above 4,500 feet. And those snow levels will kind of hold steady until about midnight, and then we'll start to see some snow break out at lower elevations. So for Boone, Jefferson, Banner Elk, you're probably looking at the snow picking up more after midnight. And I'm going to stop this about 6 a.m. tomorrow. You could see snow developing in the mountains. Could be all snow up there. This is questionable how the elevations will work out here, but that's when I think we'll see snow. Notice it is still all rain here. So for the Piedmont, no issues tonight, and really no issues in the morning until maybe mid-morning. This is 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So what's going on here is the cold air aloft, that little spoke of energy I showed you earlier, this thing right here is moving in, and it's changing our precipitation over to snow. You see the snow beginning to break out in more locations. We go towards 10 o'clock. Snow could be starting to sneak down to Morganton, Lenoir, maybe Taylorsville. We'll go to noon on Monday. Here comes the cold air aloft. Even though it's the daylight hours, this is where we're probably going to see a burst of heavy snow. And it's that classic little band, the deformation zone on the back side of the storm. And notice we go towards 1 o'clock. Snow could make it down to I-85, maybe even Charlotte. I don't know if this will happen here, maybe, but somewhere in here there's going to be a spoke of really cold air and a spoke of heavy snow. Notice how there's snow here, but rain here and rain here. This is impossible to forecast, to be honest with you, where this band sets up. It's like a pop-up thunderstorm in the afternoon. You know it's going to be there somewhere, you just don't know the exact location. So the location of this little burst is going to be tough to pinpoint, but you can see our short-range futurecast, which is our RPM model, brings it through in the middle of the day tomorrow and then exits off to the east pretty quickly. So that's the potential of, maybe getting something more out of this. So as far as the checklist that we look at, we've got boatloads of moisture. We're going to have cold air above the surface, especially with the upper low. The question still is, how much cold air can we get to the surface? And is the storm track going to be favorable? So what I mean by the storm track is I'm primarily talking about the track of this upper low right here, the cold air aloft moving in, and also how heavy the precipitation is. Can the cold air get pulled down from aloft to the surface? That's why you see on our futurecast, you see this band, because it's basically raining and snowing so heavily, it's bringing the cold air from above the ground down to the ground and letting it change over to snow. This dynamic cooling, we call it, can really cause a burst of very wet, heavy snow. The problem in all of these cases is it's just hard to know where that's going to form. Like I said, I know it's going to form, but the exact location is really difficult to pinpoint. So when we look at our our checklist here, it's not the greatest in the world. So right now, this is the chances of seeing 2 inches of snow, and it looks kind of interesting because you've got the real good chances of seeing heavy snow in the mountains, and then probably in the 10 to maybe 30% range. But notice how it dips down towards Concord and the Albemarle area, because that band sets up somewhere in here and could dip down. But also notice, I know it's just a chance, a 1% chance, but and this is for 2 inches, doesn't mean we couldn't get a trace or an inch. That 1% chance is almost all the way down to the South Carolina border. That does include the Charlotte area. So that all being said, here's what I think is going to happen as far as totals are concerned. Let me see if I can get my totals to pop up here. So here's my totals that I'm going with right now. And again, this is hugely subject to change. So please don't read too much into this, because this is going to be a tough forecast east of the mountains. I'm still sticking with my 5 to 8 of wet, heavy snow up here in the mountains. Notice the tight gradient from 4 to 5 to 1 to 2, and then this huge area of trace to 1 inch. And again, you might not ever see this on the ground. It just might snow in these areas, and it could snow all the way down to Charlotte. But here's the thing to be aware of that is probably a good thing. The ground's going to be really warm. There's going to be a lot of cold rain mixed in. The temperature may never get below freezing at the ground. It might just get into the mid-30s. It can snow at 40 degrees as long as it's cold above our head. So this will essentially be melting on the way down. It will melt on contact with most surfaces unless it falls so heavy that it accumulates because it overcomes that really warm air and it piles up. And we've seen this happen where you just get a burst of wet, heavy snow, and even though it's like 36, 35 degrees, it accumulates on the grassy surfaces and even on some surfaces on the roads, elevated surfaces, and then it melts within like 15 or 20 minutes. So that's what I'm thinking right now for tomorrow. This thing is really slowing down as well. No real big issues today. This is really going to be a Monday issue. The mountains are the biggest concern right now for wet, heavy snow. For the Piedmont, even if we get snow, I don't think it's going to be a huge travel issue, to be honest with you. I think it's just going to be so warm that it'll just essentially be like a cold rain. So it's not abnormal to get snow this time of year. Remember, exactly a year ago today, or tomorrow, excuse me, the 12th, which would be Monday, we got that snow on a Sunday morning that melted by mid-morning. So it does happen, especially with the cold air aloft. This is not going to be a huge deal in the Charlotte area. This is not bread and milk. This is nothing. This is not a big deal. It's basically one of those things like, hey, it's snowing. Oh, it's gone. It's not going to be a big deal. It's not as little as the flurries we had the other day, but it's kind of similar in that the overall impacts on the roads aren't going to be anything more than what a cold rain would be. So that's the latest. I'll be in tonight at 6 and 11 on NBC Charlotte with any updates, because there will be updates. This track and the cold air, this is still very, very fluid in here. There's still more questions in here than anything. So I think we'll see some snow. Could be as far south as Charlotte, but whether it lasts a minute, 2 minutes, or an hour is the big question mark right now. So I'll have updates coming up tonight on NBC Charlotte. Have a great Sunday. It's miserably cold and rainy out there, but the good news is no issues today at all.